Well, hi folks. Welcome to Teamsters Local 436. My name is Fred Crow. I'm the Secretary Treasurer here, Business Agent, Political Director. I got water back there, I got coffee. If you go out the door and you're looking for a restroom, go out the door, turn left, you got the restrooms there. If there's a catastrophe in the building and you need to escape, I got exits, safe exits. I got an exit over there too if you want to smoke. There's a smoking patio right out there, okay? So we try to do that every meeting, let people know, you never know. So having said that, I got a great panel here today, and first thing I want to do, because he's got to get out of here, because there's a lot going on now, we're almost to election day. I want to introduce David Brock, chairman of the party, who has gone along with us wanting to do this Labor Caucus thing. It's a very worthwhile project for us, and David's been super supportive of it, and I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you.
Here, here.
Take the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. I knew this goes to an election. I think we sort of said we don't know how many will come. We did one about 2 months ago, right? Mm-hmm. It was incredibly well attended. We met about 4 or 5 months ago. I think William was here. I think Aaron might have been here. The goal when we started this was we had a labor union outreach director, and my goal when I became chair was to have that person serve for a year, whatever, so that we could get the diversity of the labor movement involved in what we're doing. And Fred has taken over, and he's been a godsend. We Democrats are seeing a loss of support, voting support anyway, from union members, union households. I was on a call today with the AFT-OFT, and right now both Tim Ryan and Amy Acton are behind Ramaswamy in union households. Not union members, but union households. Nevertheless, this is something that we want to confront head on, and we want our Democrats, our Central Committee, Executive Committee, so on and so forth, to understand what it is that union members want from their government, and why they would come out and vote for Democrats. So we need to confront, as I said, we need to confront this head on. So I thank everybody for coming. I certainly thank all the panel members, even including Michael Dancy. I do want to thank you all really for taking the time. I know this is a commitment. Everyone could be somewhere else, especially Fred. I thank you. So we'll just turn it over now. Thanks again, everybody. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, if you don't mind, folks, we're going to start off with the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I got a great panel today. I'm really excited about this. First thing I want to say, I got Angela Caldwell, who's been through so many battles, AFSCME retiree. Thank you, Angela. I got Michael Dancy, UFCW, who's been a really lightning rod over there. I see him everywhere I go. Guys all over the place. And my partner at the casinos, Rachelle Wilson from CMRJB Workers United. She's got, the casinos are a whole different animal, so, got to give her some credit. I'm so happy she's here. And my other partner from the casinos, Aaron Womack from Unite Here Local 24. Aaron does a great job of politics and everything over there, and he's in the building with us, so that's a great thing, because I get to bounce stuff off him all the time. So, and it's the star of the day. I have Heather Smith from Policy Matters of Ohio, who is the work and wages researcher, and she's our special guest speaker today, and then she's going to join the panel. And if anybody doesn't know Policy Matters work, starting from when Amy Hanauer founded it, and they do great work. And We're really grateful that you're here. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Heather Smith. As Fred said, Workers United, Local 2843. Researcher with Policy Matters. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit research org. Mandatory disclosure that we're a 501c3 and cannot endorse any type of political party or candidate. But we can share our findings and talk about policy, right? So I'm honored to be here with you all today. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak about the state of working in Ohio, especially for low-wage workers. Well, the future of Ohio's economy is uncertain. Our unemployment rate is above the nation's, with Appalachian counties like Mahoning and Trumbull experiencing the greatest rates, some all the way up to 8%. Tariffs are causing businesses to raise prices and freeze hiring. Ohio workers are creating more value for their employers than they ever have before, but are making less than their parents were. The legislature is cutting taxes, primarily for the wealthiest among us at the expense of our public services. That will improve all of our lives. Workers are facing attacks from multiple angles, including well-funded campaigns to pit workers and neighbors against one another to weaken their collective policy and electoral power. It's an uncertain time, and the stakes are high. Policy Matters releases dozens of reports a year on the state of working in Ohio, occupational wages, tax policy, and more. Economic data, like I'm about to share with you all, can only tell us part of the story. The rest of the story, and frequently the more compelling story, is what you all, what Ohio families experience in their day-to-day lives. Part of the work that we have at Policy Matters is to expose how public policy decisions shape those statistics and those experiences, especially when consider that much of the data reported looks at the middle of the pack, or the average. Low-wage workers may feel unseen, underrepresented, and undersupported. When it comes to employment in the state, we're seeing a steady rise. The unemployment rate describes the share of the workforce that is unemployed and actively looking for work. So this includes people who are coming in off of the sidelines, entering the workforce because they believe there are good jobs available. Those who have become unemployed through no fault of their own and are looking for a new job, or simply just leaving one job and looking for another. Now in 2024, the unemployment rate in Ohio was 4.3% as a whole, compared to the nation's 4%. However, that rate more than doubles when we look at those with low income. Those Ohioans experienced an unemployment rate of 11.5% in 2024, which is worse than Ohio's overall unemployment in 2009 at the height of the Great Recession. This increase in unemployment for low-paid Ohioans over the past year is mirrored by Black Ohio workers, who saw the steepest rise of all demographic groups. Black Ohio workers' unemployment rate rose from 5.5% in 2023 to 9.2% last year. We know that economic downturns typically hit Black workers earlier than others, and recoveries last longer. So this jump could very well be an early signal of a looming recession. And a potential recession is especially threatening when we consider wage growth or lack thereof. While Ohioans in the middle of the pack saw a slight increase in the value of their wages compared to inflation, the lowest paid 20% saw no growth. In fact, we found that workers who were paid the very least, the lowest paid 10%, actually got a pay cut when we accounted for inflation. These workers were paid an hourly wage of just $13.50 last year, which is 24 cents lower than they were paid in 2023. This suggests that the post-COVID tight labor market that drove wages up for workers, particularly those that were earning the least, is starting to weaken. Ohio would need several more years of wage pressure or a $15 minimum wage to restore the eroded purchasing power that we've experienced. Now, the contrast between workers who are paid the least and paid the most is stark. With an average hourly wage of $49 an hour in 24, the highest paid 20% of Ohioans were paid more than 3 times their counterparts in the lowest 10%. The working people who are in jobs that pay the least have less bargaining power, and labor market power gets a much smaller share of the economic value that their labor creates. Policy can restore that floor on wages, overtime, misclassification, and can help rebalance those scales. And the most common jobs in our state are some of the worst compensated as well. In 2024, the largest occupation by employment was fast food and counter work, which had a median hourly wage of $13.51. So that means that half of fast food and counter workers are paid less than $13.51 an hour. Retail sales, which is the 5th largest occupation in the state, is similar. Employers paid retail salespeople a median wage of $14.64 per hour, meaning that a typical full-time, year-round employee with a family of 3 would qualify for SNAP. In fact, 4 of the top 10 occupations in Ohio last year paid so low that a family would qualify for SNAP. Fast food and counter workers, retail salespeople, cashiers, and home health and personal care aides. Now, federal attacks on SNAP and Medicaid are only going to make things worse. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, whatever it's named, was carefully designed to delay major cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, and other public services until after midterm elections. But those cuts will come, harming Ohioans who rely on those services and many more who benefit from them secondarily, including union healthcare workers and Medicaid-supported jobs, union construction workers on soon-to-be-abandoned clean energy projects, and previously union Veterans Affairs staff, 28% of whom are veterans themselves, whose jobs were eliminated through a reduction in force. The promises of tax savings, reason for a lot of these cuts, from the federal no tax on tips to no tax on overtime to the flat tax in Ohio, might sound like relief to cash-strapped working people, but they will provide little to no benefit for workers who need the most help, all while complicating the tax code and cutting revenues for vital public services that benefit the majority of working people. Only 1 in 20 low-wage workers are in tipped occupations, and 37% of tipped workers in 2022 made so little that they already paid no income tax, meaning that they don't get any benefit from the tip deduction. These deductions provide no gain to workers who don't earn tips or overtime pay. They also incentivize increasing precarious employment practices by encouraging employers to shift compensation structures to be tipped, or to hire fewer workers to account for an increased desire in overtime pay. These policies tout relief to low-wage workers, but they are temporary, ending in 2028, and if sustained, will lead to a more precarious labor market. Direct policy improvements like eliminating the tipped wage and restoring the overtime threshold to the Biden administration's rule would do far more for working people and our state revenue than tax code tricks. And the same type of promises are being made around property tax overhauls happening in Ohio. At Policy Matters, we see over and over again how tax policy is the root of so many issues facing working families. Some Ohioans need relief, but untargeted property tax cuts will be paid for by public services that we all need. Specifically, over the next 3 years, House Bill 186 in Ohio, if passed, would cut $1.7 billion in local funding to schools. It's clearly bad for schools, but it's also a bad deal for Ohioans who need property tax relief. The structure of the proposal would send property tax cuts to Indian Hill, the richest community in Ohio, but not in 6 of the 10 poorest, including East Cleveland. Of course, there could well be property owners in Indian Hill who do need a tax cut, and conversely, some property owners in East Cleveland who might not. But this bill makes no distinction between individual property owners whose situations might be different. Ohio needs property tax relief that is targeted to low and middle wage earners, like a circuit breaker, which would prevent property taxes from outpacing a household's income, whether they own or rent, without harming our schools. For those interested, Senate Bills 22 and 190 and House Bill 365 would provide such relief, if you're interested in following. Now, a lot of Ohio legislators have embraced destructive trickle-down tax and budget policies, as we've seen. Starting in 2005, Ohio legislators have foregone an estimated $12.8 billion a year in revenue through regressive reductions, making low and middle wage Ohioans pay more in taxes as a share of their income, so the wealthiest can pay tens of thousands of dollars less than they did 25 years ago. When we forego tax revenue, we lose the ability as a state to invest in the things that create broad opportunity, livable communities, and economic security. And through labor unions, working people have created workplace standards that are commonplace now, including the 40-hour work week, paid vacation time. Unions are the reason we have child labor protections, which were once considered a detriment to businesses who relied on the cheap labor to increase their profits. Historically, as union membership has declined, wealth inequality has increased. In 1978, 30% of Ohio workers were members of a union. By 1999, that share dropped to 18%. Last year, that number fell to 12.1%, down from 12.5% in 2023. That decline was driven by a 6.1 percentage point decrease in unionized workers in the public sector. Too steep of a drop to be made up for by minor growth in the private sector. And it remains true that being represented by a union leads to better wages. Between 2023 and 24, the average union wage premium, or how much more someone represented by a union makes than someone who is not, increased from 11.2% to 12.8%. And across all occupations in 2024, union members' median annual earnings were on average almost $11,000 greater than those of non-union workers. Looking at the top occupations in the state, union home healthcare aides have a 6% wage premium over non-union aides. Union stockers and order fillers have a 33% wage premium. Both of these examples have just above 8% union membership across the job category nationally. Yet, once we look at the data for cashiers and retail salespeople, where there's only a 2.7% union membership nationally, the wage premium is non-existent. This tells us that generally, the greater the union density in an occupation, the greater the impact the union can have on wages. And unions are especially helpful for workers without a high school diploma. The median unionized worker in that group was paid 21.5% more than their non-union counterpart last year. Unions are an equalizing tool. They ensure that we all get the pay we deserve to support our families, regardless of our background. State and federal attacks on collective bargaining and unchecked union busting will continue to hurt Ohio workers. So how do we fix things? Well, it'll take a lot more than 1 to 2 pieces of legislation. We need more people organizing their own workplaces. We need policies that prioritize job quality, not just job growth, and a broad modernization of employment law floors. From the minimum wage to overtime, Ohio workers need a reset. For Policy Matters, we will continue to tell the story of how public policy is showing up in the lives of working people, and we hope, with our partners in labor, to unrig the rules so Ohio's economy is truly one that works for all workers, no exceptions. Thank you so much.
Hey folks, I'm going to have a question and answer at the end, but I'm going to let everybody speak. And in light of seniority, I think I'm going to go with Angela first. Unless you got that mom voice. Project.
Hi everybody, my name is Angela Caldwell. Everybody call me Angie. I'm a retiree. I retired in 2013 and I'm still working, and my family said, I thought you retired. Why are you at the union hall? A trade union is never retired. So I started, a little background about me. I started with the city of Cleveland in 1977, and I was a recreation instructor. My starting pay was $2.50 an hour. And I was just telling somebody today, we didn't have resumes, we had applications, right, back there in the day. You know, city employees, public employees back then, we didn't have a collective bargaining act, right? We had a contract. It wasn't really a contract. What it was called was a memorandum of understanding. And that the understanding was the mayor or any politician can remove any section whenever they want it. Example, George Forbes, remember him? We had that inclement weather policy, and he decided he decided we don't want that anymore. So he just called up, no inclement weather. Well, we finally got the Collective Bargaining Act in 1994, and I like to say that AFSCME was a big part of it back then. In fact, our legal counsel, Ron Janeski, was the one that wrote the act. So things got better. We have what's called fair share fee, not open and close shop. That's against the law. And fair share fee is that if we got a certain percentage of the bargaining unit, then the city would agree to take dues out. Now, the percentage was like 75%. Now, if you could get 75%, right, you don't have to join the union, right? We would have to convince them to join the union. But we never got up to 75%, you know. Finally, we got a group of officers in, and this is when I joined the union. I'm just like, not bragging. But, and one of the problems of working with the government is that you get caught in between politicians and businesses and the community. I worked in a recreation center, Lincoln Park Bathhouse it was called. I can't believe now it's like a condominiums that cost $500,000. And the city wanted to close it, and the councilman didn't want it closed. So the employees were caught up in between both of them. So they wrote me up. The city wrote me up for something. So I was a union member. I joined the union, but I really didn't know what it was. I was just paying dues. So I called my union steward, and she asked me, did I come to meetings? No, I go home. She said, well, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. From then on, I started going to unions meetings. If the city had known that they woke up a sleeping giant, I didn't even know I had it in me. When I retired, they threw a party. She's gone. They were so happy she is gone because I didn't let them slide with anything. I believed in what I did. And I understood people being treated unfairly because that's what they did to me. And I understood certain groups not being paid equal wages. Another problem that you have in the city of Cleveland is they bring in, you get a new administration every 4 years, right? And that administration wants to bring in their own people. So they want to fire us or move us out the way. Thank God for the union. That was the only way we could stay. So what they would do is they would create titles, our work, but it would be a different title out of the union. So we would have to fight that all the time. When I was working at the Local 100, that was my union. That was the largest union in the city of Cleveland. We had 3,000 employees. You know how many members? You know how many we have now? 700. That's just how far it's eroded. And that's what the city has done. They brought people in from the outside, gave them our work, gave them a new title. And so there go that classification out of the bargaining unit. In fact, that was my first big case that I had. I was a recreation instructor, we worked with kids. And so the city decided we shouldn't pay these people benefits, they shouldn't get raises, so we're going to hire a group of part-time people, and we're going to call them recreation supervisors. So we put the supervisor in the title because supervisors are exempt from the bargaining unit, right? We're working side by side with these people, right? So I filed a grievance. It took us 4 years to settle that grievance in arbitration. And they still stalled. And finally the arbitrator said, if you don't pay this money in 2 hours, I'm going to fine you. The city laid everybody off, all of them off. So and blamed me. So you know they were teed off at me, right? But they hired them all back. And so that's what we've been doing, trying to save our benefits. And what people don't understand is we're low paid, and what part of the reasons why is when the city don't have money, I remember going 4 years without a raise. But what we would do in bargaining, we would get benefits. They'll give us an extra day off, right? Or throw money in our pension, because they didn't care. They were only there for 8 years, right? So I could just kick the can down the road. So now, when I look at the contract, I see all those benefits that we got, that we gave up wages for, they taking them. I get pissed off. You gave that away. Do you know what we went through? They don't even want to hear me talking about that. This is the things that we faced here. Changing the work rules. New politicians come in, new mayors come in. They change the work rules. They don't care. So now we're in arbitration. It takes us 3 or 4 years to get that back. Then there's a big back pay they have to pay. They don't care about that. The taxpayers. They bring in new people who didn't know the work. They want to change the way we do everything, and they didn't understand how this works. See, it's a unique thing about public employees. You know, we care. Like I work with kids. Those kids have problems, and we are in some of the worst neighborhoods in the city, right? Sometimes I would have to bring those kids home and feed them. They didn't have any place to go. And we cared about these kids. And the city wouldn't care. But that's what we do. We have inspectors, and they care about their work. In fact, I bought a new house, and they built new streets, and the contractor put the wrong pipes in, inferior pipes. And the inspector caught it. They had to tear up the whole street. Am I talking too much? No, you're good. But the unique thing about public employees is this, and this is not what I love, is that politicians are our bosses. So we get to vote. And I would love to say, when the new one come in, we were here before you got here. We're going to be here when you leave. In fact, we're going to help you out the door. Because we're going to vote you out. And they understand that. State employees, city, counties, and hospitals. Metro Hospital is one of our units there. So we got political power here. I love telling council people, you know how many people we represent? They can vote for you. And you know they know the numbers, right? And that's what politicians understand. And that's what we need to do. So y'all see, we just had a convention. And on the back it says organizing. And what we're doing is organizing retirees. Because we're not hatched and we have time. Now, I don't know if you all know about the Social Security Windfall Act. We just won that. And that is a great organizing tool. We've had like 3,000 retirees join behind that because some of us got a lot of money. So that's what we're going to do. Things are getting bad in this country. Things that we've worked for. I've been an activist since I was 16. I worked on Carl Stokes' campaign in high school. And I've been doing this ever since. And I've watched the city grow and I'm watching it fall. I live on the east side of Cleveland and we have major problems. We have I live in the central area. I'm surrounded by 3 sets of projects, a lot of unemployment, and there's things that need to be done in that city. And I had a problem with them building a stadium that costs how much? and my neighborhood looked the way it looks. So we have a lot of problems. We care about this city. We care about people. That's why we do this. And we're underpaid. We don't make as much money as the private sector do. But we love what we do. And we're going to continue it. Even when we retire, we love what we do. And thanks, everybody.
Aaron, how about you? Want to follow that?
What do you top down?
Good afternoon, and that's really tough to follow. But my name is Aaron Womack. I'm the, I kind of don't know what my title is, but Director of Ohio / Political Director for Unite Here Local 24. The local is actually in Michigan, but we have members here in Ohio, so I represent all of the members here between Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus. When Fred asked me to, well, I don't need notes because I'm passionate about what I'm about to say. When Fred asked me to speak on this panel and what it was about, I jumped at the opportunity. You know, one of my main objectives is to build our political power here, not only in the city of Cleveland, but the state of Ohio. And we use our members. And so, if anyone knows a little bit about Unite Here, we are a political machine across the country. And you know, whenever we want to make change, we make change through our members. But you know, more and more we often find, and I'll speak to an example, that it's harder to encourage our members to come out and do anything around politics. And the reason being is because there's no hope. And you know, why would I? Either A, no hope, lack of education, or they don't know what's going on. The messaging out there is so, I don't know what adjective I want to use, but it is so misleading that the right thing sounds like the wrong thing and the wrong thing sounds like the right thing. And so when you don't have that baseline education, because A, yeah, we have one, I'm a union rep that represents a ton of members, but guess what? It's not their only job. And so they're getting off their union job and going to supplement that income that they need with another job. And then when they come back from that other job, they have to be a mother, a father, or they're too tired to do research or to watch a debate, or just to look up the bills that you acknowledge. And that's part of the issue. So we did the first campus here in Ohio, we ran last October. We started at the end of September, and we launched every day from where you're sitting. We were here every day, and it was a really successful, at least program for our membership. Sheriff Brown, he lost the election, we all know that. But it was interesting that we had 20 canvassers that did not know the basic information about politics, who you need to call to get your pothole fixed outside your house. Like those things that our members didn't even know about. And so we struggled to, well, we didn't necessarily struggle, we had to go back to the drawing board to try to educate our members on exactly what it is we're trying to, and what it is our goals are. Coming up, what we have is a massive season next year. And so as we're trying to plan how we move forward, we're trying to plan how we put hope back into the hands of the people that we're representing our members, and B, the people we're going to be going to talk to. Because at the end of the day, there is no hope. There is no belief that any Democrat is going to get into office. One, do the thing that they say they're going to do. Two, if they get in office, they're going to say, well, I tried. Well, we couldn't make it happen. And then 2, 4, 3, 4 years later, we're back at the drawing board and nothing has moved forward for me and my family. Those are some of the things you hear from our members and people at the doors. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. Just knocking on doors and talking to my own members. And so we're kicking around like, how do we get our members motivated to come out and knock doors? How do you do it? Like, what can we educate and tell our members that's going to change, that's going to be on the ballot to get them to want to go out, learn about how to do politics, how to grow in their leadership, and how to convince their neighbor or their coworker to go vote for the people we need them to vote for. Like, what initiative would work? Like, is it a $15 minimum wage initiative that we've done before? Is it a higher number of minimum wage initiative? What are the things that we can do to get them to buy in? And it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have to have other stuff on the ballot just to get people to come out and vote for the proper candidate. But that's where we find ourselves. And I don't know how we shift that narrative, but I think the politicians that was running, the Democrats that's running for office, need to really take a long look in the mirror and say, these are the people that I am serving. Giving $600 million to a billionaire that can afford to buy a stadium probably 6 times over is insane when you got people that can't even afford to put food on their table working 2 jobs. I know people that work 2 jobs and can't put food on their table. They have to determine or to decide what bill they're going to pay just to get by. And on top of that has to be a parent. But yet, we're talking about $600 million for a stadium. It's insane. That is completely insane. And those same people not going to be able to afford to go to those football games when the stadium opens. Can't afford it. Can't afford it now, barely, you're right. Barely can afford it now. Definitely be able to afford it then. And so, like, for me, it's figuring out how to educate our members in the working class intentionally, not just one-off conversation or we're going to do this here, but how are we going to truly get into these communities and organize? How are we going to educate our members? How are we going to educate the working class? And then how are we going to put hope back into these workers and these people to get them out to vote? This is a pivotal and critical year coming up, and you said earlier that they're behind in union households. So, like, how are we going to shift that And that should be the conversation, and not just the conversation, but we have to come up with actionable things to move things. I mean, a lot of times, myself included, we get in these planning rooms, these meeting rooms, and we talk about the hows. Well, this is what we can do. Well, how are we going to move this? Instead of actually doing the action items to make it happen. And so that's where we have to get to. And so my role is to continue to try to figure that out. We have a big commitment we're trying to do this year. And so those are our hurdles. But I would imagine that's the hurdles for most labor unions nowadays in just the community. So that's what I got.
You can see how great it is to have him in this building. Thank you. Rachelle, you want to take a swing at it?
I don't have much to say.
Yes, you do.
Hello everyone, I'm Rachelle Wilson with Workers United. I just recently shifted into my area as my coworker Mark Milko retired. And I have all the stadiums in Cleveland, which I enjoy representing a lot of great people there. Speaking of the stadium, Aramark is the concessions provider there. We found out late Friday night in the new stadium that they are not going to renew their contract with Aramark. They're going with Legends, which is owned by the NFL owner Jerry Jones and the Yankees owner. Yeah. So we're kind of in limbo of timelines, and then found out that they recently did this in Buffalo with Delaware North, who does the Guardians. Buffalo will be going in their new stadium next year. And Delaware North's been in there 35 plus years. Yeah, it's now going to be Legends as well. So they are prying on all these stadiums. It's pretty sickening. I know he's got some dealings with Legends, and I've heard it's not good. So we have to be on our toes with this and let councils aware that this stadium's got to be a union stadium. It's always been a union stadium. A lot of great people in there with a lot of time in there. So everyone knows this. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Michael.
Okay, thank you, Fred, for the invitation. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Dancy. I'm from UFCW Local 880. I'm the political coordinator, the union representative, and also the recorder for the local. I kept sitting there and thinking like, okay, I'm gotta be next, They're gonna take up all the subject matter. So I was anticipating my opportunity to speak. A lot of great panel here have brought up a lot of great topics. But we are concerned about the economic reality and the wages just not going and keeping up. Earning gaps between the highest and lowest paid workers continue to widen. Cost of living has skyrocketed. Families struggle with increased prices of just the cost of living. Many workers need multiple jobs, like was stated earlier, just to make ends meet, and employers keep hours under full time to avoid paying for benefits. Union advantage. Union workers earn more on average than non-union workers, and Local 880 has fought for and won quality health care, coverage, pension, higher wages, fair and consistent schedules, and for safer workplaces, and to have a voice on the job for our members. With the recent introduction of the big beautiful bill that cuts the SNAP, that also hurts our members as well. Every dollar spent on SNAP generates 1.54 cents in local economic activity. 1.4 million Ohioans receive SNAP benefits. That's 1.4 million customers with less money to spend at grocery stores, retail shops, and local businesses. SNAP cuts equals reduced sales for employers, and members' hours also are cut due to those sales being reduced. Government shutdown hurts our communities. Many states have already been forced to stop accepting new SNAP applications. Customer spending power is disappearing from local economies, and that hurts everyone. Attacks on workers, the union is the last and the best defense for low-wage workers have. With the recent threat of right to work and federal threats to collective bargaining, this will hurt our most vulnerable workers the most. Scheduling issues are also a threat. Deliberate part-time scheduling to avoid providing benefits, closing late, opening early the next day creates tiring and dangerous situations for our members. Little notice of schedule making planning life difficult, but UFCW fights to protect against these issues through collective bargaining and our contract agreements. Workplace safety, meat packing and food processing without strong federal protection and enforcement protects our workers' safety. The union fights for these protections as well. Workers fear retaliation for reporting safety concerns in non-union shops, and this creates job loss and also people going job to job, creating more harmful situations in their family environment. Automation and job security, self-checkouts and AI technology hurt union workers as well. The more technology and advancements we see in the stores, the less workers you see in the stores. So there are more self-checkouts and self-scam in the stores, then that's less cashiers that you see actual people working in these unionized shops. Unions are the only force negotiating protection against these on-the-job replacing technologies. Retirement security. Most low-wage workers have zero retirement savings and Social Security isn't enough to live on. Non-union workers face working until they literally can't work anymore. Also, a concern is wage theft. Huge issues for low-wage workers, unpaid breaks, pressure to work through injuries, wage theft, union grievance procedures protect against these violations. These are some of the benefits that union jobs provide to fight against wage theft. Low-wage workers also need defense against right to work and other anti-union legislation. Recently announced was the right to work bill that was introduced by Levi Dean, fighting against SNAP and Medicaid cuts that hurt both workers and local economies. Organizing more workplaces as collective power is our best defense in this fight. The union solution is stronger unions mean workers can afford to be customers, not just employees. Good wages equal thriving business and thriving communities. Unions build prosperity instead of just managing poverty. My final thoughts on this are low-wage workers were essential during the pandemic, but now are treated as disposable. Workers' wages are stagnant even though CEOs' pay and profits are up. Now more than ever, policymakers must support unions and represent workers, not corporate interests. UFCW Local 80 fights each and every day to ensure working people have dignity, security, and a voice on their job. We are building a better life together. Thank you for your time.
Well, we have a great panel today, and at this point, I'd like to open it up to questions from the audience. We'll get a microphone up here, state your name, and ask away.
The union, I believe, negotiated to get us bonuses. I believe that's what they did, but I don't think that was promoted enough to the union members. I think that could have been done a better job of that. This past election, I was working as, passing out literature at the in Seven Hills where they're voting. Saw somebody from Giant Eagle going through, and she said, basically, didn't want to know anything about the Democratic candidates that were running. So that tells me that she's voting against her interest because I know that the Democratic Party does a better job of representing union values. Something else that I've done is last year I helped organize the Northeast Ohio Democratic Veterans Caucus. And we've tried to do a lot of things. We had our first endorsement this year. We have a meeting with the state Democratic Caucus coming up this Saturday. It's going to be at CWA, can't remember what the local, it's in Brooklyn Heights.
4340.
What? 4340. 4340. We're going to have Amy Acton and Allison Russo there. One of the things that we've been focusing on this year has been housing, because it's something that local elections has an impact on. My city, community of Rocky River, they were debating whether to criminalize homelessness. Last year, the Supreme Court said that you can do that, and it doesn't matter if there's enough housing or shelters for homeless folks. You can criminalize that. Meaning that if you are homeless, there is no place to go, you can be arrested just for sleeping. So as a veteran who is disproportionately impacted by homelessness, we took it on ourselves to educate ourselves more about the issue. And as of yesterday, Rocky River has said that they're not going to go forward with the ordinance right now. So that's from speaking out and trying to educate the community about that. But what are some of the things that you guys can do to help with the things that I just talked about?
So, I mentioned to you earlier, this is our second forum. I've been in contact with this great group of people and others, and we haven't got to the point yet where we're going to decide if we're going to what kind of structure we're going to have, if we're going to have dues or anything like that, bylaws. We're thinking about all these things, and right now we feel like we want to get through the election, and then in January we'll probably sit down and figure these things out. But there's a lot of veterans in all our unions, and there's no reason that we can't help each other, in my view. I mean, you're a union member as well, so I mean that's my opinion. I don't know if anybody else got anything. I mean, it started with the first Trump administration, and when they were going after the post office, and post office isn't the post office the largest employer of veterans in the country? Yeah, so yeah, I understand. Go ahead.
I didn't catch your name, but we can talk afterwards. So I appreciate you being a UFCW member. So during COVID, we did step up as a union to protect our members. So a lot of people in this room probably visited a grocery store during that time. So we stepped up and made sure that there was protection equipment for our members, gloves, masks, hand sanitizer. And then we also negotiated a higher pay during that time for our members. And then we also was able to maintain a lot of those raises during that time. So our members were on the front line. They were considered essential. No grocery store closed during that time. It was very chaotic. I was a union representative in the stores at that time in various locations throughout the city, and it was pandemonium. But our members were on the front line. They were taking care of the hospital workers and everybody else that was getting recognition, but they got little to no recognition as far as what they were going through. But we did make sure that they put the 6-foot markers on the floor, provided all the protective equipment, and then anytime that it was needed, they was there to make sure that it was replenished. So we can get together afterwards and discuss any further, any concerns that you have. But thank you for that recognition and saying that you recognize that in the things that we did. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Statements.
Just a question, or like also a comment. I'm Mohammed Faraj. I'm a candidate in Cleveland City Council, Ward 7, and I think that in the crazy times that we're living in right now, I think that the leaders that we're electing, there needs to be an expectation of those, especially among first-time candidates who you know, we don't want to be exposed, shouldn't be exposed to certain norms that exist in our current political system around advocacy. And I go on as I walk around the ward and I see some of these issues in you know, with my own eyes, especially with regard to housing, especially with regard to even some of what's going on with SNAP benefits, and hearing some of the sort of the desperation, you know, that is sort of on me, that we're almost at the helm of. I think that we need to make clear what those expectations are of the leaders that are vying to send to any sort of government office. And I guess my question to you is what is the expectation for like an effective support? What does effective support look like from someone who's wanting to support local unions from a city council perspective, but really any, you know, from what I've heard, it's definitely proactive outreach and talking, engaging with the unions, but like what else in the extraordinary times that we're living in? Like what should I know?
So I would say an open door policy. I would say find out who represents the workers that you're going to be, you know, making decisions for, and reach out to those leaders, you know, and just say, listen, you know, here's my contact information. If you need to know anything, or if there's any issues, please call me. I mean, Angela, am I saying the wrong thing here? Because, you know, I have public sector, and Angela lived that life, as you heard, all the way back to George Forbes and Carl Stokes, you know, and sometimes even Democratic politicians, for whatever reason, they don't act like Democrats to us. And that's part of the reason why we are doing this, is because we feel like the party needs us and we need them for sure. Because the way politics has gone, a lot of unions have been forced to make deals with the Republican Party because otherwise, right to work would be here already. If us, the building trades, and some other unions hadn't reached across the aisle, it would be here. Just like West Virginia. It's not, and Michigan was. So, there's nothing better for us if the Democratic Party is successful. There's nothing better. But to get our members on board with that, get back to putting us, you know, in the top 2 or 3, you know, instead of down towards 10. You know, am I right, folks? I mean, that's what we're looking for. Man, I appreciate the question. I appreciate you being here. You know, everybody that's here that's a candidate or a politician that's sitting office holder. I mean, this is a big deal to us that you're here, because believe me, you know, we see hard times ahead. We were talking about the stadium. Her people aren't millionaires, you know, but they cut a deal, and they're going to cut them out. Are you kidding me? That should be that stadium. You're getting $600 million handed to you, and you're seriously going to cut people's jobs. That's disgraceful. So, have at it.
Yeah, I've been trying to talk to some organizations to come up with a program like Stacey Abrams did in Georgia, because that's what we need. And I think somebody mentioned something about it's going to take years. In my ward, I don't think we had 15% of people come to vote. And there's something wrong with that. And we also need, you know, our messaging is bad. When you look at the other side, they're willing to wait 50 years to get what they want. We can't wait too.
Right.
We give up after 2 years. And then our mindset, I had a guy from Home Depot, drove a truck and delivered all this stuff by himself. I said, you need a union, because I'm not used to that. I try to breathe, you know. I don't need a union. And he's working the death. It was a lot of stuff. I don't need a union. That's all you do is give money to the leaders.
Yeah, they make.
I said, you'd rather deny yourself because somebody's getting some money. But see, their message is effective because they're telling people, if you join the union, all they do is represent the bad employees and the leaders take the money. And we even believe that.
All members believe it.
Right.
And we don't, and I'm gonna tell you, and I'm not afraid to speak for everybody here. We represent everybody.
Yep.
But if there's a bad apple out there, everybody on this podium, this dais, gives their members truth. We don't. Because that bad employee is gonna make everything worse for all the good ones.
Exactly.
Because there's gonna be a new policy tomorrow.
Yep.
Because they're not gonna punish one, they're gonna punish everyone. So, what we do, we say, listen, man, you gotta go to work. You gotta show up to work. Well, you know, blah, blah. No, I don't know. I know you gotta go to work. That's what we do.
Yep.
You know, we can't survive by backing bad apples. So, I'm here to tell you that I appreciate your question, and the answer is, it's really simple, an open door. You know, if you get to know, like, Angela's local, working out of Cleveland, you know, if you get to know whoever's running that local at this time, and something comes up in the recreation department or wherever, and you say, I know who to talk to, and just reach out to them and say, what do you think? You know, that would mean so much. You'd be a hero. Seriously.
I would say address the issues that matter. We spend a lot of time talking about stuff that the people in these communities don't even care about. And so, address the issues that matter and really deliver on the stuff that matters to those people. Because at the end of the day, there is no hope. And to restore that hope, you have to address the things that they care about. And that's money, health care, being able to provide for their families. If we can't get that done, then we're going to continue the cycle over and over and over again. And yeah, we're going to continue to bargain great contracts with good increases in good union rates. However, we continue to see inflation because of tariffs. We continue to see all this that's driving the cost of living up, the cost of, I don't know how long ago, but there's all of these memes about the cost, the price of eggs. You rather go to someone, I saw a meme with someone taking an egg from a bird thingy because it was cheaper, because it was free. I don't even know what kind of bird it is, but I'm scrambling some eggs. But at the end of the day, address the issues that matter to your people. That's what has to happen. And she said the messaging is horrible. It's like I said earlier, I'm reading some of the messaging and I'm like, all right, so if I'm blind, I won't say that, but if I don't have any knowledge of anything, this one sounds better than this one over here. Although this one's right, but this one sounds right. So I'm gonna go this way, not knowing that I just voted for the wrong thing. And that's literally what just happened. Literally what just happened. With the gerrymandering and all that, right?
Yep.
And so, the messaging was so bad on that, it literally
confused you.
Misled
Yep.
the vote. And so for me, it's talk to your constituents and talk about what matters to them and do those things to the best of your ability. And if you can't do it, and you show that you at least did the best you could to try, and that you continue to fight for it, they'll re-elect you. But you gotta talk to them about the issue that they care about.
What ward are you? running for?
Ward 7.
Ward 7.
Are you elected official?
No, I'm not.
So you try. And I would say this, whatever happens, don't give up. Keep going around that community. Go to community meetings, get to know the leaders. Because one of the problems, we only see you guys when you want to get elected, then you disappear. You're gonna have to work for that, right? You're gonna have to get your name out there, get known, because we're looking for new and different people. But like, if we make a mistake and put somebody else in, I need to still see you. Are you interested? I need to see you in my community working right alongside of me. And I'll notice you, okay?
I think they touched upon a lot of things that I wanted to say, but just want to reiterate it's being visible. I think it's a different political climate now, and I think as far as our members, just want to see results. Our leadership is President Miles Anderson and Secretary Treasurer Carl Green, and so we're trying to make sure our members are educated and they know, what things matter to them and how things can affect them. So just support the legislation that opposes this thing that'll hurt our members and that'll go against labor.
If I could say something, we have a handout that was created to go along with the presentations that I was working on for Lorraine and Ashtabula, and it was how you can help support unions. It has everything from getting your paperwork and your flyers, etc., from a union printer and with the bug on it, to coming in helping with fundraisers, just showing up, or just buying a plate somewhere at one of the fundraisers. So I can maybe put that on the back.
Would you leave your contact so we could put you on our email? I will. All right? We'll do it.
Good evening. My name is Susan Hardy. I am an elected official in the suburbs. I'm also a proud member of SEIU 1199. I work for Cleveland Public Library. I recently was talking to one of our city employees who was let go because the administration wanted to go in a different direction. He'd been working for 20 years. This was his summer job, his second job, low-wage worker. And I made a public comment that had he been a union member, he would have been allowed to retire with dignity. He would have gotten due process. I was screamed at for that statement and told that I was union pandering. And I just wanted to say that if listening to our low-wage workers, if hearing the issues that they have to deal with is pandering, then I don't want to be right, because unions matter. And even if they're not union, they still matter, and they're still important.
Thank you very much for your comment. By the way, we would have had someone from SEIU today, but they have a convention of some sort this week.
We're in negotiations.
Yeah, and I understand that you have a problem. What's that? The Jewish home is saying they don't want to represent.
Oh, Belfair?
Belfair. Yeah, they don't want to. They're claiming a religious exemption to void your contract. Again, low-wage workers, and they're the victims here by somebody with boatloads of money. And who's going to care about these people?
You can't give up. You cannot give up.
That's why we started this thing. We're hoping to get to the point where we create more union members in the executive and central committees of the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party, and we want more politicians to understand, what we're going through here. And we need each other. And we want to continue this relationship and build this relationship because, at the end of the day, we can make book with the Republicans and keep right to work out of here, but at the end of the day, we're all going to die by 1,000 cuts. Everybody knows it. So that's all I got to say. We're going to wrap up. Man, I appreciate y'all so very much for coming. I was so excited about this panel. It's incredible. And we're going to take a holiday break. I want y'all to have a great Thanksgiving and great Christmas. And we're going to reconvene sometime in January. And we're going to decide on how to go forward as far as structure and all those things. And we're going to start having we're going to have an occasional forum, and we're going to get together. And I'd love to see you guys every time because this matters. This matters. So thank you again. Thank you again.